Sniper Elite V2 is Rebellion's second shot at the series, and armed with some brand new tech, it aims to make each round fired a spectacle of lethal penetration. Can it encapsulate the thrill of dealing death through a scope, or does it just miss the mark? It's not too long before you realize that Sniper Elite V2's bare-bones plot is mainly there to put you in very specific sniping scenarios. Germany's imminent defeat is looming in the final days of WW2, and as OSS officer Karl Fairburn, you're sent to locate and extract the scientists involved in the V2 rocket program before the Russians do. Taking out high-ranking German targets is also on the agenda, and before long you discover the plans of a V2 strike on London. Little is done to develop Fairburn's character, since his musings are purely limited to mission briefings and short, often forgettable cutscenes. Those seeking an enthralling World War II story need look elsewhere.
I fear that it was a waste of time.
Your deployment to Berlin spans the game's 10 stages, each with its own objective that dictates distinct sniping situations. One moment you're planting bombs on a bridge, which you'll take out later with a well-placed shot. Another has you infiltrating a V2 rocket facility. Being that you're a sniper, you'll naturally want to search for the best vantage point before engaging any group of enemies. The environments aren't suited to the task though, since they rarely allow you to deviate from a straightforward path. Attempts at traversing new areas that are clearly visible often prove impossible, since you can only climb certain predetermined obstacles. Our efforts to find out of the way sniper perches usually just yielded collectibles. Waypoints funnel you linearly through the environment, either to the next specific vantage point or to the single entryway to the next combat area. The perches the game provides serve well enough, granted you place traps at vulnerable entry points before taking the first shot, which inevitably alerts all enemies within the area. There are stages where you're also able to make use of ambient sound in order to mask your shots. When everything works in your favor and you're able to take out an entire group of enemies while retaining cover, the game really feels like it's working. But things take a turn for the worse when you're doing anything other than sniping. The closed quarters stealth segments that require the use of a completely different set of weapons are a real drag, and unfortunately they come along much more frequently than you'd like. The game is also littered with cheap ambushes, many of which are located at waypoints that were originally completely clear of enemies. In these instances, it feels like the only way to survive is with the foreknowledge from an earlier failed attempt. When you factor in the dysfunctional checkpoint system, this kind of trial and error becomes unbearable. On the bright side, the online co-op, which allows you to play through the campaign with a friend, remedies many of our complaints. Particularly, the ability to revive your fallen partner helps to alleviate much of the tedious trial and error that plagues the game's worst moments. The cost, though, is the X-ray kill cams. They're disabled in the co-op play. Other online modes include Kill Tally, which is reminiscent of the now familiar Horde mode, and Overwatch, the asymmetrical standout of the bunch, which has one player on the ground marking targets and engaging objectives, while the other takes the shots. Sniper Elite V2 provides you a host of abilities to help make your deadly work more intuitive. You can spend your empty lung meter to slow time, as well as map out the trajectories of your shots. You can keep tabs on enemies with your binoculars, and should things ever get out of hand, you'll know when you've broken direct line of sight with your attackers by making note of your silhouette, which indicates your last known position. The game's most touted feature is also the most impressive, the X-ray kill cam, which follows your shots in slow motion as they penetrate your unlucky foes, sparing no gory details. Enemy snipers hidden in elevated positions produce a glint effect when they take notice of you. The idea is to give you a chance to spot them before they take a shot, but oftentimes these enemies are so out of place that the only way to discover their positions is to recklessly bait them. There are even some cases when they're completely obscured by smoke effects. Because of the rebounding health system and the fact that you can easily take a shot from a sniper, this ridiculous running around method is sadly more efficient than actually scanning the environment. Enemies also possess a seemingly supernatural level of environmental awareness. But perhaps this is only fair, since it appears Fairburn is also touched with this power. But it's the previously mentioned close-quarter stealth segments that really mar the experience. While the melee stealth kills are easy to perform, sneaking missions inevitably turn into unintentional shootouts that play terribly due to how poorly you're equipped. Silenced pistols and submachine guns are only effective at near point-blank range, yet even then, they're not very accurate, frequently turning what should be one-sided encounters into complete fiascos. It's so bad you'll often feel better off equipping your sniper rifle for these sections. Overall, these poorly constructed segments add little to the experience and will leave you wondering why a game like Sniper V2 is so quick to neglect its core competency. Dilapidated cities and military bases make the bulk of Sniper Elite V2's battlefields, and they do the job decently, though the same can't be said for your enemies, which look like lifeless mannequins just waiting to be slaughtered. The gruesome horror show that comes courtesy of your high-powered rounds is always morbidly eye-catching, however, with bones and organs rendered and damaged convincingly. There are some great ideas in Sniper Elite V2, they're just buried under a few too many bad ones. Asking you to stomach the poor game that exists between the solid sniping sequences is frankly a tall order. There are great moments when everything clicks, but the problems you'll endure to reach them ultimately render this game a missed opportunity.